article we have already published that is evaluation of the safety profile of lopinavir, ritonavir in suspected and confirmed COVID patients in the National Institute of Cardiology. And as you already know, and everybody has suffered, we had this difficult decision to make when we first started with the COVID-19 pandemic. The uncertainty of the treatment in the beginning of the pandemic was a complex challenge, and we had different pharmacotherapeutical options such as hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin, as well as lopinavir, ritonavir, interferon beta, and remdesivir, and many other different treatments that were used in different studies throughout the world to be able to understand and get to know the correct treatment to patients was one of the biggest challenge of the pandemic. Therefore, in the National Institute of Cardiology, we decided to use as part of our treatment in the beginning of the pandemic, lopinavir and ritonavir. This mainly because lopinavir and ritonavir is an HIV protease inhibitor, so it's developed specifically as an antiviral, and we decided to use an antiviral because the results observed in other studies with other viruses. But one of our concerns was the possible risk of QT prolongation due to interaction, especially with azithromycin and hydroxychloroquine. Since when we received our first COVID-19 patient, we already had some initial information about the efficacy of azithromycin and hydroxychloroquine that concluded that they were not effective for COVID-19. We decided not to use these medications and not to combine with lopinavir, ritonavir, due also that mainly we received cardiac patients with COVID-19, and we didn't want to have this drug adverse reaction in our patients. This study that we are seeing, comparative therapy efficacy of remdesivir and combined with lopinavir, ritonavir, and interferon beta with MERS-CoV, had demonstrated before the pandemic that lopinavir, ritonavir could have some slight reduction of virus, as well as improved pulmonary function. Therefore, many research teams start to study furthermore this medication to see if it had some impact in COVID-19, in SARS-CoV-2. So, therefore, some other researchers, such as this publication, did that research, and they determined that the treatment with lopinavir, ritonavir was not associated with a difference from the standard of care and mortality as well. So, as they were able to analyze, study, and confirm, we also had the same results. We didn't find that this medication had any efficacy in our patients. But since we already had used that medication as part of this of the research, we also review the safety data related to this medication. And as they already had evaluated, the gastrointestinal drug adverse reactions were an important thing about this medication, and serious adverse events were not common in this in the use of lopinavir, ritonavir, at least in those patients that they studied. So we also had to evaluate the safety profile of this treatment in COVID-19 patients. Therefore, we established a pharmacovigilance study that was a retrospective observational study of the patients suspected and confirmed with COVID-19. In that period of time, we received 237 patients. From those, only 140 were given lopinavir and ritonavir, and they were treated with 2 tablets of lopinavir ritonavir the first dose, and then the maintenance dose was 1 tablet of lopinavir ritonavir for the next 6 days. In our study, we were able to see that the average age was 54 years, and we saw that 3 patients had autoimmune disease, 46 had diabetes, and hypertension had 56 patients. And in the second figure, we can see the amount of consumption of tablets used in the patients in our study, in our population of patients. So therefore, these are different causes of suspending the lopinavir and ritonavir treatment. The first one, or the most prevalent one, was that patient discharged because they had been discharged of the hospital, not requiring any more treatment. The second one was because they had, unfortunately, they passed away. So that's the second one most prevalent. But we have some interesting ones also, such as the initiation of ruxolitinib. And why we stopped treatment of lopinavir ritonavir when given ruxolitinib is because ruxolitinib combined with lopinavir ritonavir has demonstrated also that increases the risk of drug-induced liver injury, or as it says, DILI. Therefore, we took the decision not to give this combination of medications, not to be aware that that this combination had this risk that allowed us not to give this combination. There were some patients in our study that we stopped the treatment because we decided as a team to stop using this medication due to the articles we were able to identify about the non-efficacy of the treatment. Other patients, we stopped the treatment due to the negative results of the SARS-CoV-2 PCR analysis and the decision that they didn't have any COVID-19. Some other that were suspended was the interaction with atorvastatin. And we can see also that some patients had diarrhea, some other ones have increased hepatic enzymes. So our In general, we only have 5% of drug adverse reactions, and from these drug adverse reactions, 2% were hepatic drug adverse reactions, and 3% were gastrointestinal drug reactions. Our drug adverse reactions, we can see that mainly they were not severe drug adverse reactions, and only 25% were severe. And this one was a drug-induced liver injury due to the combination, unfortunately, of lopinavir, ritonavir, and atorvastatin that we didn't identify as fast as possible as part of our follow-up as we have. So by this study, we demonstrated, at least, that in cardiopathic patients, we didn't have any QT prolongation due to the medication, but also that the safety profile of lopinavir ritonavir was similar to that was already published and demonstrated in other studies. And mostly we had gastrointestinal problems and hepatic problems. The more severe ones were the drug-induced liver injury, but important to say that the drug-induced liver injury didn't prevail in the patients. They were discharged from the hospital with any other complications, and the hepatic enzymes were returned to the normal levels. So therefore, we can say that lopinavir ritonavir had a okay or correct safety profile for the COVID-19 patients. Nevertheless, it's important to say that it has been demonstrated in other studies, such as this one, that we can see like the ongoing live update of COVID-19 therapy and the drug treatment for COVID-19 living systemic review, that this medication has not any efficacy. It's important to analyze or to know that at the beginning of the pandemic, we didn't knew which medications will be had efficacy and also were safe for using with COVID-19. Therefore, these kind of studies that we can also see here are really important. These are live meta-analysis in which every several weeks or months or every month, you can increase the amount of studies that are analyzed together, and you can update the analysis. This kind of analysis weren't used before COVID-19. This pandemic give us the opportunity to use this kind of study. But I also want to say that the first ongoing living update of the protocol COVID-19 published by the World Health Organization was published in September 2020. And by the study that we were able to develop and the pharmacotherapeutical follow-up in the Institute, we were able to stop this use of lopinavir ritonavir in COVID-19 patients early in June. Therefore, we were able to identify that it wasn't efficacy. It didn't have any efficacy in the early phases of the pandemic, and we also are sure that the use of lopinavir ritonavir didn't have any repercussions in the safety of our patients. It's important that in this kind of situations in which we have a pandemic, we form a pharmacotherapeutical follow-up unit in which we can analyze not only the efficacy, but also the safety profile of all medications used out of label, especially because that will give us the information as fast as possible to take the best decision and to empower the clinicians to make a wiser therapeutical decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jose Antonio, for your wonderful presentation. We enjoyed your presentation. I don't know if there is any question pertaining to the topic presented by Dr. Jose Antonio.